Good evening. Welcome to this forum for the Franklin Village election sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. Today is September 17th, 2024, which also happens to be National Voter Registration Day. This forum will feature the two candidates who have filed for Franklin Village President, vote for 1, and the 6 candidates who have filed for Trustee, vote for 3. All positions are 4-year terms. The candidates for president will be featured from now until 7:30. After a short break, the trustees candidates will then be featured until 8:35. I'm Cyndi Peltonen, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted national, nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we will never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our communities strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this one, which can have great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning more about how you could make a similar impact, I encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available at the table just outside. Visit our website at lwvoa.org or see Jerry Rentschler, one of the pages, who has more information. The League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in the forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. We do encourage voters to do their own research and fact-checking. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask the audience to remain silent during the complete forum. Please turn off your cell phones. We ask the candidates answer the question with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The questions are asked to all candidates and do not single out any one candidate. This presentation is copyrighted 2024 by the League of Women Voters, all rights reserved. All candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by our screeners, Maria Pichet and Judy Bateman. Our pages for this evening are Diana Piles and Jerry Rentschler. They will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions. Please turn your questions into the pages. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotation unless extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Our timer is Leslie Fleming. The candidates for Village President are Bachir Chamma and David Goldberg. We will begin the 1 minute opening statements with Mr. Chamma.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. This is great. My name is Bachir Chamma, and I'm running for Village Council President here in this beautiful village of Franklin. I've been a resident here for about 7 years, and it's been great to be here. I want to serve the community that I love so much. Louder? Louder, is that better? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I will restart. Did you guys catch anything? So again, my name is Bachir Chamma. I've been living here for 7 years in this beautiful village of Franklin. And it's a beautiful community. It's very charmful. And I would like to volunteer for this position to serve my community. We have a lot of open issues that's still open and been open for years, and I'm looking forward to work with, if elected, with the council to go ahead and get a lot of these issues resolved immediately. So thank you.
My wife Courtney and I moved to Franklin 26 years ago, raising our 3 children, Rachel, Jake, and Paige here. I began volunteering for Franklin in 2006 when I was appointed to the Birmingham Area Cable Board. In 2007, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, where I served 6 years, the last 3 as chair. I was again appointed to Planning from 2015 until 2022, spending all 7 years as chair. In February of 2022, I was unanimously appointed to the Village Council to fill a vacant trustee position, and in November of 2022, I was elected to retain my seat on council until 2026. I currently sit on the council's legal committee. With the current village president not running for re-election and myself having chaired the planning commission for 10 years, including through COVID and our virtual meetings, it seems the natural progression to be village president. I'm respectfully asking residents to support me in that quest.
Excuse me, can you hold it to your mouth?
Yep.
Thank you. Now for question number 1, we'll start with Mr. Goldberg. What issues are residents most upset about, and what are some of the outstanding issues that need to be resolved?
The most current issues in front of council right now are stormwater issues and drainage issues, which are probably our largest and what council considers the most important issue to address. Residents' lots have been manipulated over the years, whether it's through development or natural growth. We've lost our ditches and our culverts, and we need to restore that so that residents can trust their properties won't be invaded. And also, most recently, we have been for years grappling with trying to enhance our cellular service, and that's one of the top items in our master plan. And while we've been trying to enhance or encourage the cellular users to bring towers and things like that to the village, we're beginning to get some resistance on that, and that's a big issue to be addressed.
So there's a lot of open issues, and they've been open for years in this community. And the community that I talk to every day is pretty upset. So the self-care has been open since 2007 without any resolution. And the latest resolution that was proposed was intrusive to people's yard. So there's a lot of technology other avenues and solutions that could be used to resolve this issue. We have infrastructure problems. Every single storm, we lose power. A lot of the villagers lose power, and it's been the case. I lose power every single storm, and so does my neighbors. So do my neighbors. So this is one of the issues. The other issue as well, we continue as a village to negotiate bad contracts. We have the highest sewer bill in the entire county. We have right now, we just got a new garbage contract where we're limited to how much garbage we can throw. So my villagers and the neighbors that I have and everyone that I talk to, they want issues resolved. And I will make sure these issues are resolved.
Thank you. Mr. Chamma, the next question. The next question will be for you. What are your thoughts on Franklin preserving the Pickering barn?
My thought is Franklin is a charmful village, and we have a lot of heritage. And it's my understanding, and based on research, that the person who built the barn is the same person who built the cider mill. Therefore, it's important to preserve our heritage, our history, our charm. Like, Franklin is beautiful and deserves to get to keep its history while the world is changing fast. But today we have a donor who's looking to donate $54,000 to help us preserve the barn. However, the donor is frustrated by the lack of responsiveness by the village and its president, by the village council and its president. They're looking for a result. They're looking for direction so they can go ahead, donate, and get that issue resolved.
So I absolutely support preservation of the Pickering barn, and raising funds to see that it can be properly stored is definitely something that I support and have been supporting for the last year or so that it's been an issue. But like most items, once it's preserved, there still has to be figured something to do with it. And once something's figured out what to do with it, then we have to figure out how to pay for what needs to be done. Whether it's a municipal project, in which case the municipality would have to find a place to raise funds, or whether it became a public-private partnership, the next step beyond the preservation is going to be figuring out a useful life for it in the village and figuring out how to pay for it.
are you bringing that will make you an effective president?
Well, I'm going to stick to a strictly municipal standpoint. As I said in my opening, I chaired the Planning Commission for 10 years. I've run municipal meetings for 10 years. I even ran them through COVID when we had our biggest participation and having to deal with people, shouting at you from the camera. I'm also a real estate attorney. I represent land use developers, so for my entire career, I've spent time in municipal meetings, planning commission meetings, village meetings. I'm pretty familiar with the municipal process, so feel pretty comfortable running the village and managing our meetings.
Thank you. Mr. Chamma?
Same question.
Yeah.
So I bring project management experience, business development, and I started my career as an engineer. I work today in the automotive industry.
Can you hear him back there? Okay.
And I bring a lot of management experience, business experience, crisis management experience, and mostly what this council need, a mediator, someone that can provide direction, find solution, have a pragmatic approach to make sure that everybody works together to go ahead and get all the open issues that have been there for years resolved. And that management experience from the automotive industry, which is a pretty tough industry to work with, and I happen to collect a lot of experience working there, which I'm looking forward to volunteer and help my village benefit from the experience that I have collected through my professional experience to go ahead and get things done around here. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Chamma. Have you ever run for any other public office?
No, this is my first public office. I'm looking forward to it. It's something, I volunteer all the time. I volunteer at my kids' school. I volunteer at work. I volunteer at all the institutions that I work with, whether in coaching my kids in soccer or like teaching kids STEM, robotics, Lego to go ahead and compete. Also, at work, we have this unique program where we have newcomers who just moved in here for work. I help them find places to live. We help find them settle in, find places where they can shop, they can buy a car, settle in, and go ahead and join our society and our community and be a productive member.
Thank you. The next question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Will you repeat it again, please?
Yes. Have you ever run for any other public office?
Oh, okay. So, yes, I ran for village trustee and was elected 2 years ago. And although I'm still in the middle of my term, with the village presidency being in the alternate years, the only way to be able to run would be to have to, if I were to be elected, give up my council seat. But I think that it's the time to make the transition to president, and with the current president not being there, I think it's the appropriate transition. Other than that, no, I've never run for any public office.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Goldberg, excuse me. What makes Franklin unique, and how can you make sure it stays that way?
Well, I think the most uniqueness of Franklin is, of course, our character in our downtown. Historic preservation has been at the forefront of Franklin for years, ever since I came here as a little kid. For the most part, downtown looks like it did when I came here as a little kid. And I think that's the most important thing that people in Franklin want to preserve, so that the next generation and the generation after that see the village the same way, although we have to juxtapose the aesthetics of the village with the ever-changing world that we live in. Younger families with more technologically based thoughts, so we are definitely going to have to, in the coming years, blend the history of Franklin with the 21st century.
Thank you.
So we're the village that the time is forgotten, right? What makes this village the way it is obviously the heritage, the charm that it has, and most of all, the community, the people who live here are just so amazing and welcoming. And we just saw in the parade how beautiful our town can be. our cider mill as well. You talk to people, what makes Franklin Franklin? You know, they always talk about the cider mill. Tell them, hey, you live in Franklin? Oh yeah, the cider mill. I go there all the time. So, you know, that's what makes Franklin Franklin, and the charm, and you know, the way that our community look. You know, I'm looking forward to preserve everything we have, that beautiful heritage, and you know, get all these open issues resolved without changing the character of our village. Keep it the way it is. Keep it charming. You know, just use technology in our advantage to go ahead without having to put cell phone towers out there. You know, just we can use nods, we can use multi-cells, we can use so many things. You know, to just keep it the way it is, and same time integrate technology into it.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
You'll go first on question number 6. What would be your 3 main goals for the village next year?
Well, the first thing is resolve all the open issues. I will start with the cell phone tower that's been open since 2007. I'm going to get it resolved. You know, I'm aware of all the technology that we could use and bring service. You know, people who live there and seeing their front yards being dug are upset. And I want to make sure that the issue gets resolved without being upset. Also, I want to bring transparency back. Our budget has not been released in the last 2 years. So we don't know how much we spend, how much we're not spending. You know, the current council and its president lack transparency. You know, we could use a lot more transparency. We need to bring accountability as well. I'll focus on that. And, you know, we have flooding issue. We have the power outage issue. That has to be resolved right away. In the first 100 days after I'm elected, that's what I'm going to focus on working. You know, work together, mediate, making sure that less fighting in the meetings and more solutions. And let's work together, you know, use all the management experience that I have to make sure that find win-win solution for everybody. You know, like I said, like for example, technology and other things. My time is up, so.
Mr. Goldberg?
So, as I mentioned earlier, the top item, priority item for the village is drainage. We have a limited fund in order to address it. The village gets ARPA funds of roughly $100,000 or so a year. I want to make sure that those ARPA funds are continuing to go towards our ongoing drainage project, which could take several years to address completely. I wouldn't normally go there, but the concept of the transparency within the council. Last time I checked, every single council meeting is on television and open to the public, including all of our budget hearing meetings. So the best way to know about the budget and things like that would be to attend.
Thank you. Do you have 15 seconds left?
I don't need any more.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the next question. How could the village board and administration better communicate with residents?
So another item that has been addressed a lot recently is the communication. We have enhanced the website a little bit. Unfortunately, not all of our residents have submitted to the village clerk their email addresses to be able to get the weekly newsletter that comes out. We are just recently, due to what's going on in Bloomfield Township, going to probably at our next council meeting address a mobile app that Bloomfield Township's using in order to allow residents to communicate with the village on a bunch of issues. And that's probably one of the things that we really need to make sure of, is that we can get more village residents included, particularly at our planning commission meetings where we get the least amount of support. And I would see the mobile app as being the next step to get people involved.
Thank you. Mr. Chamma?
So, you know, just using my project management method, and I'll use more like a push method, right? Just go ahead, print newsletters, send them over, you know, to the villagers. Tell them what's going on, what happened. Share the budget with them, right? If you go on our website, there's nowhere to find the budget, nor the village administrator will even share it with us. So there's no transparency there whatsoever. You know, I'll be more transparent. I'll make sure the villagers are aware of what's going on. I'll bring on surveys to see how the villagers feel about something. As well, I'll make sure and go ahead and talk to the villagers as a president. Go on, walk on some street during my weekends. Go talk to the people and making sure that the villagers are up to date. Send emails, yes, but how about, for example, we print letters, we send over. But just, you know, be transparent. Make sure that all the villagers get all the information they deserve to need, especially with contracts as well. A lot of villagers don't know what our contracts are like. For example, the sewer contract. I went and reached to the village administrator, and he doesn't know where the contract is. He can't even share it with me. So I'll make sure that's resolved.
Thank you.
Start with me.
Mr. Chamma, you can keep the mic and the next
Yes, ma'am.
question. Recently, there was discussion about a proposed golf cart ordinance. There were strong opinions on either side. Would you like to share your views with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always for making things safe, right? You know, everyone has an opinion, everyone has a hobby. I want to make sure that the villagers get to do their hobbies or do the things they like here safely, right? So if you want to go ahead and drive your golf cart, as long as it's street legal, our police force is okay with it, making sure that it's safe, it's not going to cause any impedance, it's not going to cause any disturbance or be a safety issue, then I'm all for it. You know, could be golf court, could be anything else. I'll make sure as long as it's safe, street legal, our police force is okay with it. It's not causing any harm to a village. I'm okay with it. You know, I'm all for incentivizing people to do what they like. I don't like punishing people. It's all about incentives. Incentivize people to do the right thing.
Thank you. Mr. Goldberg.
As I stated on the record at our last council meeting, I am actually still, I would say, on the fence on the issue. I'm still looking for more information on the subject. I want more input from the residents. We've had 2 different petitions that have come in, some in favor, some against. A lot of the issues that are against are danger concerns. And a lot of the issues for are allow people other means of getting downtown. So I still want to continue to investigate it. I will say that I participated in the parade this last weekend. We had several thousand people downtown walking around, cars all over the place, and about 5 or 6 golf carts intermingling amongst them, and I did not hear of any incidents.
Thank you. We'll go first on the next one. Another hot topic at the last meeting seemed to be about the deer overpopulation. Would you like to share your views on that?
If my wife were here, she would not be real happy about the deer population. She, in the car yesterday, told me that Oakland County has the most deer car accidents than any county in Michigan. Look, we have really nice properties, particularly the amount of money people invest in their backyards. I just raised a legal committee at our last meeting to send to the Planning Commission to consider. We have a rear yard perimeter fence ordinance that maximizes the height of fences at 4 feet. I think it might be the time to reconsider whether in the rear yards, maybe we could go a little higher. 6 feet might be enough to curtail a majority of the deer. And I have had neighbors on my street. I've had other neighbors that I've passed when I walk through the neighborhoods, and definitely wanting to be able to better secure their rear yards. The fronts, I don't know what we can do about, but our beautiful backyards, I think it's something we need to consider.
Thank you. Mr. Chamma.
There's so much deer in this village. They're almost like villagers now. A lot of them everywhere. And my kids love looking out of the window and seeing deer, and it's part of our town. However, I agree the deer is becoming more of a safety issue. You can see a lot more deer dying on the side of the road, a lot more accidents being caused by it. So I want to make sure that I will work with the county to go ahead and control the population. Keep deer here. They're part, again, like I said, villagers and stuff, and they're part of our town. But overpopulation, because obviously there's no natural predators and hunting is not allowed around here, maybe I will work with the county to make sure that we can control the population. Obviously in a humane way, we'll work with subject matter experts and maybe relocate some of the deer over to a different village. Obviously working with the county, and obviously making sure as well that this not come to a financial impact for the taxpayer in this village. That's most importantly.
Thank you. Now, the last question is, what specific actions would you support to repair and maybe restore or renovate historical buildings downtown?
the village here gets a lot of grant, and we qualify for a lot of grants. We have a lot of beautiful village buildings, and the cider mill is one of them. Like I said, technology came so far, so good. We can utilize it in our advantage to resolve any issues and preserve these buildings, and making sure they keep their historical appearance, view, and like cider mill, the service, and making sure they're maintained, and actually utilize them to bring more people and foot traffic to our town, and making sure our businesses are not struggling, benefit from the historic fact, from the historic building around here, and utilize that for their advantage to go ahead and generate more business and bring more people to visit our downtown, and especially villagers, to be able to take their kids, go and see the history and the heritage of Franklin.
Thank you. Mr. Goldberg?
Repeat the exact question again.
What specific actions would you support to repair and renovate historic buildings downtown?
So economic redevelopment has been something that Main Street, which I have supported since its inception, is something that they have focused on. Our current Main Street Economic Development Director has been doing a wonderful job in bringing new businesses and new opportunities here. Having been here 50 years, Franklin's gone through ebbs and flows. There's been years when we've been bustling, there's been years when we've been down. I would say until about 2 years ago, we were in a down. But I see the turn back up. Franklin Grill being renovated, a new restaurant, building next door being renovated, bringing in a new business, Van Avery building being renovated, Lisa taking over the former farmhouse and bringing a business which will be a mixture for adults and kids. I see the trend coming back up, and a lot of that is because of the hard work that Main Street puts in, and I think we need to continue to support Main Street in order to see that.
Thank you. We have one last question. How would you change the trash? Charge, maybe?
Oh, so yes, the village just renegotiated their trash contract. We came to the expiration of an 8-year contract that was entered into with a company that signed a bunch of contracts 8 years ago, not really thinking about the economics of it. They were doing it in order to increase volume and then sell their company. And the person that currently bought it got stuck with a lot of contracts, including ours, which was coming to expiration about 2 months after they took over, and didn't give the village a lot of time to address it. So the contract that's in place is the one that was the most economically feasible one for the village. The original proposal was to double the cost of trash in the village. The final number was at about a 40–50% increase. And as a compromise, we had to move to a system where only one person's on the truck, and as a result of that, they have to have it be more mechanicalized. And I understand it's going to be hard to adjust, but like everything,
Thank you.
it'll be an adjustment.
Mr. Chamma.
The recent garbage contract is just terrible. We're gonna see a lot more trash around here. Now you're only limited to how much garbage you can throw with this contract. So you're gonna see a lot more trash around because it's not gonna be picked up. And people are gonna be fined for just having the regular trash now, I've negotiated contracts in the billions of dollars in the automotive industry. I would have negotiated easily a much better contract than the one that was just negotiated. And if I'm elected president, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna renegotiate the contract. I'll make sure that people can go ahead and throw the garbage that they have to. And they're not limited to how much garbage they can throw. Because our city, or our village, was beautiful, is clean. I will make sure it stays that way. Now it's gonna be challenging upcoming days. A lot of people have been approaching me. They're not happy about the new limitation of how much garbage they can throw, unfortunately.
Thank you. This concludes the time for questions and answers. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to make a closing statement in the reverse order of opening statements. Mr. Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg?
Oh, all right. So, as an elected official, I believe that we need to do what is necessary to ensure that the village continues to grow as a fiscally sound residential community where people desire to live, and make sure that our quality of life and property values enhance. I've heard a lot of things this evening which I would hope to be able to address in the upcoming months. I think some views of how the village is run need to be maybe better understood. We don't have a dictatorship, and the president of the village doesn't have the ability to unilaterally do things. We operate as a council. The council votes based on majority rules, and I'm not so sure that, as much as anybody would like to, that you can just come in and change things overnight. So if that's what it's believed it takes to make Franklin a better place, then that's what people are going to believe it takes. Having
Thank
done
you.
it for years, that's not how it works.
Thank you. And Mr. Chamma?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. I will bring fresh approach, fresh leadership, mediation, making sure that we all work together. Less fighting. I'll bring working together vibe, mentality. I will utilize the professional experience that I have into the council village meetings to make sure that things are getting done in those meetings. I will bring accountability, responsibility, transparency back to the council. Working with people, like just having pragmatic approach, focusing on the task, driving results, getting things done. You know, I'm not sure in the last 2 years my opponent or the council achieved much. You know, the only thing my opponent achieved was a reduction in his own property taxes by 13.5%.
You are not allowed to say that.
My apologies. So I take this back.
I will give,
I'll take him back.
excuse me,
I,
I will give you 30 seconds to respond. You don't, I'm sorry, that is inappropriate.
I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware. Anyways,
Okay.
Excuse me, you'll have your time.
it's public information, sir. Public information.
Sorry.
Please look it up.
Part of the
Okay, so I will-
pledge that you signed is not to
I
address concerns
apologize.
of
I
your...
was not aware. You know, I understand that, you know, as a council to work together. Again, this was a situation, just an example that, you know, I'm more focused on the issues at hand. My point is, we want to make sure that the villagers' best interest is served and not our own. That's why I want to volunteer to make sure that the people in this village get their issues resolved immediately, not wait years. A lot of the issues, like the cell phone tower, has been open for years, like the power outages has been open for years. We continue to see the bad contracts that's being negotiated. I will make sure that this is resolved and make sure that we are getting things done in the meetings, making sure that all the villagers' needs are met, and please vote for me come November 5th. I hope I own your vote. Thank you very much.
You have a minute.
Volunteerism starts from the grassroots. You spend time volunteering. You volunteer for various committees in the village. You get to know people. You get to know the issues. You come to meetings in order to understand what's going on. Now, we weren't supposed to address our opponents, but I've seen my opponent at 2 meetings. No, I'm getting my 20 seconds back. So, the village needs leadership. We need to choose who that leader is going to be. We can choose a leader who has experience, or we can choose a leader who wants to bring new ideas, maybe good ideas, but wants to bring new ideas to a village council that's going to take teamwork and effort to get anything accomplished. And from what I've seen today, that's not a good start.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take a short break to seat the trustee candidates. The trustee candidates for the Village Council of Franklin are Fred Gallasch, Abigail Gates, Michael Seltzer, and Angelina Marie Sulaka, who is not here. Also on the ballot is Anthony Schoeneck and Chris King. We will begin opening statements with Mr. Gallasch. Go ahead, Mr. Gallasch.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming here. I'm really anxious to get back on council. I served 24 years on council, 4 of those as president, and I'd like to get back and help council again. I've lived in Franklin since 1993, and this is a gorgeous place and a really place to live. And I'd like to keep it that way. And that's what I did in my previous experience on council. And the other thing I'd like to do is support our police and fire department. We're very unique to have our own departments, and they are excellent, capable people. And I will do everything I can to make sure that they are here and secure and well taken care of.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having me, first and foremost. My name is Abigail Gates, and my husband and I, Kevin, moved here in 2018. We have 3 girls and have found the hometown I didn't have as a kid, and I'm really honored to be here. I think it's funny you ask half of Detroit and they don't know Franklin exists. We've got this an incredible rural feel, and yet we're in the middle of this amazing city of Detroit that's got this redemption arc, which I could talk about all day. But I think what prompted me to get involved here was it's not enough to talk about making change without actually going through the act of getting involved. So I'd love to be a representative for the company. I work in HR, so I do this a lot in my professional life, but I'd love to be a representative for the community. And there are a lot of people like me that have brought their families here to do what generations of people before us did, and I'm excited to do that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Seltzer, and my wife and I moved here in 1995. I became a volunteer, as my wife did. Immediately, we jumped into the Franklin Community Association, which is something that's deep in my heart, a passion for, because we do so many wonderful family-oriented things for the community. I was with the FCA as a volunteer and then as a president for over a decade. I'm very proud of the service that I provided and the things that we did. We brought music and movies on the green to the community. And then in 2010, I was asked if I would take the leap from the fun part of being a volunteer and all the social things that we do to enter into the political fray and join the village council. I've been reelected 4 times since, and I look forward to a future, endless future with this village that I truly love.
Hi, my name is Angelina Sulaka, and I'm asking for your vote for Franklin Trustee to make sure that you're involved in Franklin's future. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for their dedication of educating residents. I notified them ahead of the forum to let them know that I was out of the country on a family vacation, and they graciously allowed me to submit a short video. Second, I'd like to thank you, my Franklin neighbors and family, who inspired me to run and bring more life to Franklin. I'm running for trustee to make sure residents are involved, informed, and safe. My 3 priorities are improving communication, community spaces, and the quality of life for residents. I'll improve communication by sending important and timely information to Franklin residents in a way that's accessible and convenient to all. I'll partner with downtown businesses and share strategies to create safe, open, and functional spaces that bring neighbors together and revitalize our downtown. We need family-friendly businesses that sell things that we all love, like coffee, sandwiches, and ice cream. As an attorney, I advocate and serve others. I have experience managing projects, attracting businesses, securing incentives, and negotiating best value contracts for the government that maximize your tax dollars. I would bring this experience and passion and energy to the village while being accountable to residents and putting words into action. A better quality of life for residents includes reliable infrastructure and services. I'll launch initiatives that ensure the village does a better job of tracking resident complaints, partnering with DTE and service providers to prioritize our issues, and using best practices for budgets, processes, and resident outreach. As trustee, I'll be your public servant, and this means listening and learning from all of you. Please share your ideas with me by sending an email to votesalaka@gmail.com or following me on Instagram @SalakaForFranklin. Vote Sulaka now until November 5th. Thank you.
First question will go to Ms. Gates. If elected, what will be your personal goals as a trustee?
One of my biggest motivations coming into this was that I want to make Franklin a home for all generations of villagers. I saw recently that the average age of the Franklin village was about 50, which is a pretty big decrease from previous census. And so I myself have 3 kids, and I have this. As someone who moved a lot as a kid, I want my kids to look at Franklin as this hometown and to get involved themselves and to feel this tie to community that is the hallmark of the work I do. I actually run my own business as an HR consultant, so I work with launching and creating engagement and culture within companies that I work with myself. And so I'd love to replicate that sort of environment and do so with the community, with my kids in mind, so they continue to live and support this beautiful village that we have.
Thank you. Mr. Seltzer.
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. If elected, what will be your personal goal as a trustee?
Well, I have served the community and I have been elected, and all of the things that we do are based upon the needs of our constituents and the asks of our constituents. We're very much in tune with the people that we serve. I walk the community every single day, and I meet people, so many new people, young people that have come into the village, and I'm proud to be able to introduce myself and to tell them a little bit about the history of the village. We are a very responsive group. We have a very collegiate group on council right now, and we have learned how to listen. There are so many issues before us right now, and some of them are controversial for no particular reason other than there's at least 2 or 3 sides to every story. So my goal is to continue to service the community, to listen, and to react responsibly.
Thank you. And Mr. Gallasch? Yes. If elected, what will be your personal goals as a trustee?
Well, one thing I'd like to do is make sure that the council is a very collegial group, and that they allow differences of opinion, but they do it in an honorable way. I've seen some council meetings that have gotten a little bit carried away, and I think it's hard to make good decisions when you're in that controversial thing. So I'd really strive to work with my colleagues and make sure we explain what we're doing, get all the details, and then make correct decisions.
Thank you. Now, question number 2. We'll start with Mr. Seltzer. Do you support collaborating with the village manager and fellow trustees?
Well, I think we have to collaborate. I mean, there's no point in, first of all, we have a lot of issues that come before us. And in some cases, we have 2 different visions. For instance, there are those that are proponents of better cell service. We've been hearing about this for years, that people are driving through the community and they lose calls. So we embarked upon an effort to remind our cellular providers that Franklin is here, and we have a lot of dead spots, and we have to deal with that. So we are looking at an opportunity to enhance our cellular service. But of course, there's always going to be a community that has a problem with that particular cell tower. And so ultimately, we're trying to serve 2 different sets of constituents. And there are similar examples that I can speak to about that, but basically it's working as a team and understanding the needs of the community.
Thank you. Ms. Gates?
Well, as I've mentioned a couple of times, I work in HR, and no one wants to work with HR. And so what we recognize is that if there is a lack of collaboration in the initiatives that we launch, then it's dead on arrival. And so success is rarely achieved in a vacuum. There has to be some level of teamwork to achieve any successful initiative. So to me, it would make absolutely no sense at all to go at this alone and to make assumptions for constituents, or to not create some sort of collaborative opportunities to solve for anything.
Thank you. And Mr. Gallasch?
Great question.
Yes. Do you support collaborating with the village manager and fellow trustees?
Absolutely. That's the only way you get things done. You've got to work together. Even if you have a difference of opinion, you need to make sure that you can compromise to serve the benefit of the citizens. I've seen council meetings I've been to where not a lot gets accomplished because there's so much controversy. I think it's time that we sat down together and worked, and if you don't agree with everything, still try to find a compromise that will work.
Thank you. Question number 3, you may keep the mic, Mr. Gallasch, you'll be going first. Are you concerned about a lack of transparency in Franklin's leadership?
Well, since it's been 6 years since I was on council, I can't speak directly for what's going on now, but I do think that the more that council can be public and knowledgeable and speak out to things, the better off everybody will be. Because I do have neighbors that will ask me questions about council, and then I'll have to go search out the answer for that. The more that council can be public, and you know, it used to be we'd pack the house with citizens coming to the meetings. We need to do that again.
Thank you. Mr. Seltzer?
Well, we had a pretty packed meeting this past week because there was an issue that folks wanted to opine on. We are extremely transparent. I really don't, I don't know where that comes from. We have open meetings. We are on TV. We are listening to our constituents and meeting in full view. There are no events in which we are making any kind of arrangements behind closed doors. I serve on the legal committee, the personnel committee. I'm a liaison to Main Street, a liaison to the FCA, and next. And everything that we do is out in front of the public all the time. So I truly believe in transparency, and we work and strive towards that kind of governing all the time.
Thank you. And Ms. Gates?
And I agree with you completely that council meetings are public, they are recorded, but the simple truth is that there are people with competing priorities in their life who may not have the ability to be at a meeting, and so we talk a lot about how to get work done asynchronously. And I've worked in tech for a very long time, and so what we talk about is how can we create opportunities for information to be consolidated and accessible and in ways that people can adequately consume, that meets the needs of their lives while also still offering those opportunities. So it's catching people where they are and affording them opportunities to find information in easy, simple ways that use technology to our benefit, instead of using it as a way to villainize new and different ways of doing things.
Thank you. Mr. Gallasch?
Excuse me, for those who don't know, I'm a diabetic, and I'm having a little bit of a sugar problem.
Would you like Mr. Seltzer to go next?
Yeah, would you please?
Okay, of course. Are you okay?
You okay? Okay, I'm sorry. The question. I already addressed.
Did you already address this one? Are you
Yes.
Oh. Do you want to take a little break?
Are you okay, Fred?
Sorry. Repeat the question.
Are you concerned about a lack of transparency in Franklin's leadership?
Actually, I think it's a combination of things. Some of the meetings have been pretty controversial, so it's hard to figure out who's on what side of the fence. And also, I think council can probably do a little bit more to recruit people to come, to summarize what they'd accomplish at the meetings. They do have minutes of the meetings, so that's a good place for citizens to read. And those are on the website, so they can read the minutes of the meetings, which is very important if you really want to know what's got accomplished. But it also doesn't hurt to come to the meetings, because then you can sit in the back. Even if you don't want to say anything, you can sort of see how the personalities work and how the business gets done.
Thank you.
Can I add a comment or no? Sure. I just wanted to add that all of our meetings are recorded, and they are available on YouTube and on our website, so that for anybody who, and I understand families, I had a family of little kids. I grew up with that same challenge in time, but we have made things much more available to our constituents. I agree that we should continue to strive for that, but we do everything we can to let people know about our meetings. I think the frustration I have is how many people say, I didn't know about this, I hadn't heard about it. I have an idea for that, and we'll talk about that later.
Thank you. The next question will start with Mr. Seltzer. If it was up to you, what one change would you implement?
Well, there are a lot of people that feel we should have city water in the community. That keeps coming up. The demographics in our village has changed since the last time we polled our constituents about it. When we did, I think it was about 10 years ago, it was a 60-40 against water. I think that it has impact on the value of our properties. And I think that if we were to poll our constituents today with all the new young families that have come in, I think that water would be of interest. I brought this up when we were redoing our roads about 7 years ago, I think it was, and thought that was the right time to begin laying some of the pipe, at least on Franklin Road. We did have a contamination issue, and I thought that was an appropriate time to begin that, but it wasn't received the way we had hoped. I do think that's something that's important for the future.
Thank you. Ms. Gates?
As someone who works from home, my husband does as well, we have two different kinds of Wi-Fi in my house to be able to do my job. And so for me, it's really infrastructure based and finding ways to modernize whether it's the power around our house, the water lines, what have you, just to make sure that I can continue to support my family and remain in this town at all. So for me, it's as basic an issue as that is ensuring that we can live and work in Franklin and continue to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Gallasch?
I would suggest that given how technology has changed, we do need to pay more attention to improvements in technology. Whether that be, and I'm not in favor of necessarily a cell tower, but there ought to be a technology way that can accomplish what we need without having some grotesque cell tower. But I'm not a technology expert, so I can't speak to the technology that's available there. But I think we do need to look at that type of issue as well as we can. And we've handled the sewer system previously, and so I think we can start talking about how to handle the water thing. But the public's going to have to appreciate the damage to the infrastructure and the cost of doing such.
Thank you. You can keep the mic. The next question will be yours to start. What is your opinion of the finished product called sidewalks?
Well, being on council when that was being considered, I can tell you that it's very controversial. And now that it's done, I think we can appreciate we've got it. But I'm not sure we need to add any additional sidewalks to the place.
Thank you. Ms. Gates?
I remember when we moved here, I was about 7 months pregnant with my youngest, and we had a 1-year-old at home. And one of our neighbors had pointed us to the Franklin Grill to have dinner as a family. And by some miracle, we negotiated a stroller and my very pregnant body down Franklin Road and managed not to get hit by cars. It was me. I was hard to miss, and I walked around every neighborhood in this town trying to get that baby out. But all kidding aside, I am terrified at the Birmingham schools making a recommendation that my 5-year-old was to go out on 13 Mile and catch the bus to school. She was in kindergarten, and I can recognize that there is this beauty in having a very rural town, but I also know that there are other families out there that feel the same way as mine, and the safety of my kids is paramount to making sure that, again, we choose to live and work here and raise our families here. So for me, it is an incredible asset to have those sidewalks downtown so we can take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Abby and I are in total agreement on this. I'm very proud of I wasn't pregnant, but we did a video with another pregnant woman who you probably know, and I won't mention her name now, but trying to navigate up the hill on Franklin Road with traffic going against her. I cannot for the life of me understand why this was controversial, but I understand there are people that just don't like change. the vision that we had when Michigan State came to us with this architectural proposal of what the streetscape was going to look like is still sitting in our administrator's office. It's a beautiful image of what we envisioned, and now it is reality. I couldn't be prouder of that. And look what it's done to us. We now have 3 potential new eateries. One of them is a millionaire who could put that business, that new restaurant called the Franklin Oyster Bar, anywhere in the metropolitan area. He chose Franklin for a reason. So I'm very, very proud.
Thank you. Ms. Gates. What is your opinion on the recent golf cart ordinance?
I tend to think of this as this charming opportunity for people to gather downtown. I've seen this play out in other communities, and I think it's a really lovely low lift opportunity for people to go. Again, I'd be remiss not to mention that there might be some security concerns or safety concerns. So provided it's something that's supported by legalities or street laws, or that the police department is behind something like this and have set some guidelines for the use of those vehicles, I personally don't see an issue with it. It's a much better way for me, for instance, to take my kids to my neighbor's house than hopping in the car, especially during summer nights. So, I don't typically tend to have an issue with that one.
Thank you. And Mr. Seltzer?
So here's it's a challenge, and I am, as David Goldberg said, I'm a little on the fence. Here's why. Because I was so intimately involved in the roundup every year for so many years, and still am to that extent, I see what happens when kids get a hold of golf carts, and it can be risky, okay? Our police chief, who I respect greatly, previous and current, have both opined that they feel that there's a security issue and a danger to golf carts. Goodness knows, when I'm out walking on the streets of Franklin, I have to navigate around cars where people are on their phones talking, and I have been narrowly missed too many times. So I'm open to hearing from people, and a lot of people came to council with a passion about this. I understand the passion, but we are not the Villages in Florida, and we're not a little up north community. But I'm open to hearing about what people really think, and I will make a decision that I think is in the best interest of the community.
Thank you. And Mr. Gallasch?
This is an interesting item to me because I think the council was not considering the liability issues that are going to come forth. Our roads are legal roads, and passenger cars and trucks, of course, are able to come on them, and they're insured. Golf carts are not. They don't have safety equipment. They don't have airbags. They don't have pollution controls. And if you start bringing them on our public roads, and trust me, there is going to be some accidents. And when the automobile owner tries to get his car taken care of, the golf cart owner doesn't have insurance. So what's he going to do? Either sue that driver of the golf cart or sue the village for allowing such to happen. They are not legal motor vehicles to be used on legal roads. Sorry.
Thank you. And Mr. Seltzer, we'll start with you this time. How can the council both support the village administrator while still holding him or her accountable?
Well, first of all, we have an exciting new village administrator who is starting next week. And Meg Schubert, who previously worked for us as the Main Street administrator a couple years ago, went off and found her fortune in the city of Troy, became an assistant city manager. We have been talking with her, keeping in touch. Very, very pleased that we've got her. She's very strong. She's very aggressive. She's smart, and I think she's going to do wonderful things and be much more reactive. I agree that we need to hold our village administrator, our clerk, anybody that works with us has to be held to the highest standards because our community deserves that and expects that. And we as a body try to work as much as we can in concert with our village administrator. I'm really looking forward to Megan joining us.
Thank you. Mr. Gallasch. How can the council support the village administrator while holding him or her accountable?
Well, I think the fact that the administrator has a job that we hired them to do, they are responsible to the council to accomplish what has been asked to do. So, and I have not met the new administrator, but according to Mike, she's apparently perfect. So I have no reason to question that anything will not be done well. But they're an employee like any other company that has an employee. So they have to have certain qualities that we need, and then they have to be held to standards. However, I think it's the council's duty to help them by helping them learn the new nuances of the village and help them understand the rules of the village.
Can I add one more quick comment? Yes. We went through an arduous process of interviewing. There were a number of candidates. We interviewed about 20 people, and we narrowed it down to a group of 6. And there were some very good candidates within that body of 6, but we scored them on a scale. We had a series of questions that we adapted. The Personnel Committee, which I'm a part of, there's 3 of us. We took turns asking the same questions of the applicants and grading them on the scale of 1 to 5. And she by far exceeded our expectations. There was a close second, and yet we're very confident that we made a good choice. But she's going to be held to high standards, and the Personnel Committee is going to meet on a regular basis and have reviews.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Gates, you may have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, wow.
Well, because I gave Mr. Seltzer.
Sure.
That's okay. And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Gallasch, if you have other comment, that's fine. If you have other comments, you can have extra time as well.
This is a very similar process to the work I do in any company I work with, and holding others accountable is about creating a shared vision, and it's ensuring that the priorities of whatever leadership team, or in this case a council and the administrator, that there are shared priorities and some sort of metrics to measure the effectiveness of whatever it is we're trying to do. So so it's really a system of checks and balances that comes back to the process that underpins it. Do we have a system to understand creating that shared vision? Do we have some way to create transparency across the council as well as the constituents to understand, are those priorities aligned? Is that administrator an active participant in that process to ensure that those priorities are being met and that there is some sort of process or solution in mind that meets the needs of everyone involved? So it's a very similar process to the work I do, and it's really about the people involved, how we're aligning the work that we're doing, and the level of collaboration and transparency involved in solving for whatever challenge is in front of us.
Thank you. Mr. Gallasch, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, thank you. Question 9, Mr. Gallasch, you'll go first on this one. Recently, there was some discussion about the outdoor lighting ordinance. Would you like to share your views on that?
Well, since I wasn't on council when the discussions were on, I have to admit I'm not familiar with what that particular subject is.
Okay.
But I think we do need to make sure that since Franklin is a rural area, we don't want to light it up in such a manner as to make it look like a great city. We're a great village, but we don't need to be lit up like you'd see in the street. Also, there is enough lighting, particularly down Franklin Road here, where you can walk between the fire station, from the post office and the village offices at night without any issues at all. And a plug for the post office, make sure you buy your stamps at the post office, because that's how they measure whether the post office stays in one place or not.
Thank you. Ms. Gates.
And I agree with you, Fred, around we are a rural area, and so so I think there is something to be said for, I think it's a matter of character and keeping Franklin similar to the aesthetic that it is. What I will say is, because there will be an eatery downtown, and there'll be 3. My only thought is that if there are more people downtown in the evening hours, then there might be some benefit from a safety standpoint to adding some additional lighting to make sure that people are safe, and that if they're coming and going within the city or perhaps walking home, that there's no concern over people being downtown and perhaps being nicked by a golf cart.
The new street lighting with the bulbs doesn't provide a long light.
Yeah, I don't really know. We are a very dark community. I do walk around at night with my 2 puppies, and it's a little scary. I carry flashlights and try to wear reflective clothing. So, yes, we do have lighting ordinances that protect and provide a nice environment, a darkened environment for most of the community. But downtown is very well lit now, and it is really, actually, I think it's very pretty, to be honest with you. And as we have expanded our downtown Main Street area with these new businesses, we're going to see more traffic. And let's face it, it gets dark here at 4:30 a good many months of the year. So it becomes, in the wintertime, it becomes very dangerous not to have lighting. So I'm pleased that we did that, and I know that for some that was a step too far, but I think it's really in the best interest of safety and security.
Thank you. Ms. Gates. There's been talk about working collaborative with each other on the council. I'm wondering what skills you could bring to the table that would help facilitate that collaboration.
Oh gosh, I facilitated many a charged meeting in my career. I'm also
excuse me, you can have 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes. Is that did Mr.
Everybody,
Seltzer?
you're going first on this. Everybody will get 2 minutes.
I'm also the last of 8 children. I grew up in a very loud home, so that's worth mentioning. But all kidding aside, I think a big part of my work is also change management, and a part of that is understanding what either side might want and identifying some commonality and making changes and moving people forward in whatever direction seems to best suit the most amount of people. So it's that skill. I find I work with a lot of executive teams on coaching and advisory and ensuring that those leaders are working effectively with one another as well. And if you want to talk about a lot of tension and ego in the same room, I implore you to take on a career in HR and attempt to get people on the same page. But all kidding aside, it's again, it comes back to shared vision and ensuring that the solution becomes the North Star, and that the process and the ways that we solve for those solutions is understood by everyone, and it becomes a matter of checks and balances that come back to that system of process. We love process. I'm sorry. It's an HR thing. What can I say?
Thank you. Mr. Seltzer.
I mean, obviously, collaboration is everything. And I think that, look, we had an election 4 years ago that was extremely ugly, and it got us off on a very challenging foot. But I do believe that the current council that is in place right now is operating in a much more collegial way. We haven't had serious disagreement like we've had in years past. I've been on this council for a long time, and there were some really contentious issues. But the last couple of years have really been quite peaceful, to be honest with you. I would devote myself to working together with my colleagues. I always try to do that. I listen. I am vocal. I do speak my mind, but I am, and I'm getting some nods, but I am fair. I listen to everybody, and I have a passion for this. I wouldn't be doing this for this many years. I've been retired for 10 years. I still love it here. I still love what I do here, and I hope to do it for another 4 years and leave when I want to leave. But I really love working for the Village of Franklin. I love the community, and I will continue to work as best I can with my colleagues, and I don't see terrible opposition so far. I think we can get along just fine.
Thank you. And Mr. Gallasch.
Well, I've served, as I said, 24 years on council, and I think I remember the good days and the bad days, and I would like to contribute to the good days now and try to do the right thing and to compare the data, the facts, and then come to a group decision that's good for the village. I could say one thing, that since living in the village since '93, I never thought I would move to a place like this. Where I've grown up in Virginia and other places, it never was been like this. So I'm a big fan of this village and intend to stay here. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question, Mr. Seltzer will begin. School boards have training available through their national and their state associations. Is there something similar for village councils to receive training in municipal leadership?
I mean, I think there are organizations that have come to us before, and we have participated. A lot of it is really experience. Most of us have come through volunteerism in our community. I'm a big promoter of volunteerism. I do Meals on Wheels. I deliver, I work in a food bank. I'm a board member of a number of different organizations. Volunteerism is everything. Most of us have come from some experience and or have business experience. So, you know, we've got some really talented people in this community, and I've had the great pleasure of working with many very talented, successful people. And I think that we all come with the same drive and passion to do the best we can for our community, and I will continue to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Gallasch, are you aware of any training that's available for leadership development for municipal boards?
I just recall many years ago that through my actions with Oakland County, that there were some various meetings that I was able to go to talk about collaboration and methods for communication. It's been decades ago, so I don't know what's available now. But I do think that if someone is new to council, any one of the council members should be able to sit down with them and go back a few years and say, okay, how do we get this budget done? How did we do the roadscape thing we did? And what did we have to give up in order to do that? So I think current council members and past council people can help educate new people as how the process works and what they need to do to learn from the existing people.
Thank you. And Ms. Gates.
I bring some private expertise to this question just because of the nature of my work, but where there is a will, there is a way. Training programs exist in every discipline and every way, shape, and form, whether it's informal mentorship, and there's platforms that I work with and am a part of as a mentor, for instance, just again as a private citizen, that are free to use. And I'm certain that there are municipal leaders available on those platforms. So there are things like that, or there are state level grant programs driven toward innovation within the Detroit area. And I'm certain that there are some programs available, whether through grant programs or just through the network of people that I just have crossed paths with over the duration of my career. So I can say with 100% certainty that there is something out there that the village could leverage if we'd find that there was a need for something like that.
Thank you very much. This concludes the question and answer segment of the forum. We will now have closing remarks in reverse order. Mr. Seltzer, you may start.
Well, I'm very grateful to the League of Women Voters for doing this. I wish there were more people that were participating. I know this will be on the air and people can find it. I only hope people will take the time. As far as I'm concerned, we have three very smart people up here. I'm including myself because I do believe that after 4 terms, I've got this down. But I see the ability to operate collegially with, and I've known Fred, Dr. Gallasch, not Mr. Gallasch, for a number of years. He brings a lot of institutional knowledge. Abby seems to be very, very bright and would bring some interesting new perspective. And I share our vision, I think, to do everything we can to enhance and increase the value of our Franklin experience. We have a wonderful community. I'm very proud of it. And I look forward and hope for another 4 years with your support. And I thank everybody for coming here tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Gates.
Again, thank you for having us. I have to admit I was terrified to come here tonight. I don't know that I've spoken to a group in this way outside of my work, and so I'm just appreciative for the opportunity to even have a chance to talk about things that are meaningful to me. But I'm just proud to be here. I think, you know, when we moved here, it was simply from, you know, the utility of being closer to my stepdaughter so that we could be more involved with her. And what we found is this community that that has brought such meaning to my life. It's brought close friendships to my life. It's brought best friends to my children. And I'm proud to tell people about the community that I live in. I don't know if you know this all, but I'm the informal salesperson for getting people to move here, simply because I've told so many people about it. But all kidding aside, I'm just excited to get more involved in helping to make things better for the people around me and the people that will come after me.
Thank you. And Dr. Gallasch.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I've done this before, and I always relish being here with the people from League of Women's Voters. I'm looking forward to spending a little more time on council. I'd like to bring my experience to help things get accomplished, and I really appreciate living in Franklin, and I want to give back as much as I can.
Thank you. The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, the candidates, and BCTV for making this forum possible. This presentation is copyrighted 2024 by the League of Women Voters, all rights reserved. Any recording of this forum may only be shown in its entirety. For further nonpartisan information on these candidates, we invite you to visit vote411.org. Rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the League of Women Voters website. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Our membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. Please remember to vote on November 5th. Thank you very much.